Elizabeth and Josh are the two live people I see. Hello.
Morning, Ed.
Morning.
Happy Monday.
It is.
We are streaming, people, and I will call the meeting to order at 12:02. Apologies for being a couple of minutes late. I'm going to start by saying that this is a virtual meeting during the COVID emergency, and people can check the city website for current details of COVID-19 service impacts. Meetings can be viewed via live streaming on YouTube and the city website. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for council, standing, or advisory committee meetings, as well as information upon request. To make a request for any city service, please contact accessibility@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact csc@london.ca. With that, I will look to committee members to see if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, I'll go to the consent items. We have 7. Would members like to pull any of those items? I'm not seeing any pulls. I'll look for a motion to put all of the consent on the floor. Moved by Councillor Van Holst, seconded by Councillor Pelosa. Any comments, discussion, questions? Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Actually, I was going to put the Deputy Mayor on the spot and get a little information on the FCM Board of Directors meeting, if perhaps he was planning to do that, but I think that would be helpful. Okay,
we'll go to the Deputy Mayor, see if he would like to do that.
Yes, I'll provide just some brief commentary. As colleagues will recall, because it certainly impacted us as a council, we had the Board of Directors meeting in September, right after the municipal election. And so a majority of our time was spent through the committee structures talking about the various items that were promised by the different political parties during the election and how they related to the work of the different standing committees, as well as the regular business we had before us. I've produced and presented the report that is developed by our FCM staff that summarizes the work of that week. But I could tell you it was a very interesting timing for a meeting of the Federation right after an election, because obviously the first 100 to 150 days after the election is very important to get a handle on the promises made, how they align with what we were going for, and what work can be done to bring some of those to fruition, particularly in a minority parliament, where it's not just the commitments of the governing party that matter, but the other parties who need to work with them. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the report, either at the meeting or beyond. But that's what happened in September, and later this week, I'll be participating, as will Chair Cassidy, in FCM's work for our November board meeting. We will not be having a lobbying of MPs yet, because they're only just starting to sit. But we do have some work to do as an organization, and you can look forward to updates from the both of us after the work later this week as well. So that's it from FCM, and yeah, happy to engage with any colleagues on that work anytime.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Morgan. I'll go to you, Councillor Van Holst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just had a question through you to Ms. Barbone about the 2.2 item authorization for temporary boring. And I just wanted a reminder of how the amount that's being requested today might have compared to last year, and if there's a difference, why.
Ms. Barbone.
Thank you, through the chair. The amounts are essentially the same. We have, I guess, in history, not actually drawn on it. So this is just a contingency in case we should require, but the amounts are not different and do not differ from prior years.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. And is it set as a particular percent of our budget. Looks like it's around, roughly 10% of our budget. Is that correct?
Ms. Barbone?
Perhaps I'll turn that over to Mr. Murray to answer that question.
Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, through the chair. So actually the amount is in relation to the amount of line of credit that we have available through our financial institution. So it's not in relation at all to any particular portion of our budget. It is directly in relation though to what we do have access to through our financial institution in the event that we would require to access it. But as Ms. Barbone indicated, we have not had to draw on this previously.
Councillor.
Yes, well, thank you for the answer, and congratulations for not having to draw upon that. As always, we've got our books very well in order, and I'm appreciative of that, as I'm sure all of my colleagues are and have often said.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions or discussion on the consent items? Okay, I do have a question, if the committee will indulge me from the chair. I have questions on 2.3, the City of London Procurement Process Assessment Review. I'm wondering to Ms. Barbone why public organizations score so low on their procurement process.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm going to refer that one to Mr. Collins and perhaps Mr. Freeman on that.
Thank you. Mr. Collins?
Through the chair to the committee, I think when you look at the procurement maturity assessment that was undertaken by Ernst & Young, our score is where it is recognizing the diversity in services that the city provides. And one should note that that assessment is assessed against the best in class. So when you look at a scale of 1 to 5, given the diversity in services, the different subject matter experts, we can't be everything to everyone. So we've done the best that we can to accommodate all the different procurements that a municipality would undertake. I could turn it over to Mr. Freeman to provide some further context to the explanation.
Mr. Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Collins, through the chair. This is a very generic tool that Ernst & Young has used to benchmark the City of London. It would be appropriate for both public and private sector. Private sector organizations, as Mr. Collins had also just kind of indicated, would probably score much higher than what public sector organizations would, simply due to competition and advancements in technology and innovation, but more importantly, a more narrower scope of procurement. And certainly private sector organizations wouldn't have the 100+ services to procure for a municipality that we would have. So, the scoring of a 5 would be best in class, as Mr. Collins had indicated. And a lot of that, I think, would be not feasible for a public sector organization, nor would it be a good return on investment, because these are extremely high scoring potentials in the maturity assessment that was used for the City of London.
Thank you for those answers. That's very helpful to me. My final question is, it says in the report and in the Ernst & Young document that they're recommending external support to help us to move forward with the new processes that are being recommended. So I'm wondering what that external support would look like, and if the cost of the external support would be included in that $450,000 estimate.
Through the chair to the committee, based on the shift that Ernst & Young is suggesting to move to a more strategic procurement, the recognition that some external support would be required would be used to assist the municipality moving towards that journey to achieve that frame of mind and that approach to procurement. The $450,000 indicated by E&Y just reflects City of London staffing. So over and above that cost would be for that external support, which is why, based on the recommendation from E&Y, Civic Administration has elected to receive that information and digest and validate the observations that E&Y has presented to us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, and now I'll move to Councillor Van Holst.
Thanks again, Madam Chair. And the item I'm going to ask about now is 2.6, which is the Human Resources Information System Software Acquisition. So this seems very familiar to me. SAP is used by London Hydro, and the process we're taking on is similar to that. My question is, if we have a sense of what our budget will be for the software implementation partner, there's an RFP going out for that.
Okay, I'll go to staff for that.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. At this point, the RFP has not been released for the implementation partner, but we do expect that it will be within the budget set out in the approval. For this RFP being for the software itself, we actually came in under budget, which was a pleasant surprise. So we feel that right now we will be under the total budget for the project.
Thank you, Ms. Davison. Councillor Van Holst?
I guess I'm fine with that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. So that the consent items have been moved and seconded. If there are no further questions or debate or discussion, then I will call the question.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.
Before we move on in the agenda, I neglected to welcome our newest councillor, Councillor Hamou, to this committee as a guest of this committee. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Anytime. So there are no scheduled items. There are no items for direction. There are no deferred matters. I'm assuming there is no additional business, but I'll look to committee. No, there is none. And that takes us to the end of our public agenda. We have a number of confidential matters, 4 of them: labor relations, solicitor-client privilege advice, litigation or potential litigation, and a personal matter of an identifiable individual. So those are the items that are listed on the public agenda as our reason for going in camera. I'll look for a motion. Hold on one second. The clerk wants to tell me something. So we will be going in camera. We will adjourn immediately after coming out of confidential session, but we will not be restarting the live stream because there will be no additional public matters after we finish with our confidential agenda. So I do need a motion to go in camera, moved by Councillor Van Holst, seconded by the Mayor. And we can do a hand vote on that. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. So give us 1 second to adjust everything and go into confidential session.